Every public smile tells a story. Every royal appearance is carefully planned. Every handshake, every glance, every photograph is examined by millions around the world. But what if the relationship the public believes they understand is only one small part of a much larger picture? What if the greatest truth about King Felipe and Princess Leonor isn't found in official speeches or palace balconies, but in the quiet moments nobody ever sees? Today, we explore a fictional royal drama imagining the private bond between a father and his daughter behind the walls of the palace. This story is entirely fictional, inspired by public figures, and created purely for entertainment. Let's begin. The cameras always captured the same image. King Felipe standing proudly beside Princess Leonor. Formal, composed, dignified. Their public appearances rarely revealed emotion beyond measured smiles and respectful gestures. To many observers, they appeared disciplined rather than affectionate, professional rather than personal. Some even wondered if their relationship had grown distant as Leonor prepared for the responsibilities of becoming queen. Inside the palace, those rumors occasionally reached the royal staff. Nobody commented. The palace had long understood that silence often protected the institution better than explanations ever could. But silence also allowed imagination to grow. One evening, after returning from an official ceremony, Leonor quietly removed the ceremonial sash she had worn all day. It had been another successful event. Thousands had applauded. The media praised her confidence. Yet she looked exhausted. King Felipe noticed immediately. "You carried yourself well today," he said. Leonor smiled. "They applauded the uniform. They didn't see how nervous I was." Felipe nodded knowingly. "I've worn uniforms for decades. They never remove the pressure." Leonor laughed softly. It was a rare moment when they spoke not as king and crown princess, but simply as father and daughter. The next morning brought another schedule filled with meetings. Advisors discussed future responsibilities. Constitutional experts reviewed ceremonial duties. Military officials prepared upcoming training. Everyone focused on Leonor's future. Few noticed Felipe quietly watching from the end of the table. He wasn't evaluating her performance. He was remembering the first time she had nervously attended meetings as a child. Remembering how she used to hide behind her mother's shoulder whenever photographers appeared. Now she confidently addressed senior officials herself. Time had moved faster than he expected. One palace employee later recalled something unusual. Whenever Leonor completed an important engagement, Felipe never asked one question. He never asked, "How did the media react?" He never asked, "What will tomorrow's headlines say?" Instead, he always asked the same thing. "How are you feeling?" It seemed like a small detail, but perhaps it revealed more than any public appearance ever could. Outside the palace, speculation continued. Commentators analyzed body language. Television experts interpreted facial expressions. Articles debated whether father and daughter secretly disagreed over the future of the monarchy. Some believed Leonor wanted dramatic change. Others believed Felipe insisted on preserving every tradition. The truth, at least in our fictional story, was far more complicated, because disagreement did not mean division. In fact, some of their strongest conversations happened precisely because they respected each other's opinions. Late one afternoon, Leonor entered Felipe's office carrying several documents. She had prepared ideas for future youth outreach programs, technology initiatives, educational visits, community discussions. She hoped the monarchy could strengthen its relationship with younger generations. Felipe carefully read every page. He occasionally asked difficult questions. What happens if expectations become impossible to meet? How do we balance openness with privacy? What traditions should never change? Leonor answered thoughtfully. Neither tried to win the discussion. Both tried to improve it. When she finished, Felipe quietly placed the papers on his desk. "I'm proud that you're thinking this deeply." Leonor smiled. "I learned that from you." Weeks later, they traveled together for another official event. The day was filled with speeches, ceremonies, and public greetings. Photographers captured hundreds of images. Most showed the same familiar expressions. Formal, respectful, reserved. What nobody photographed happened between events. As they waited in a quiet room, Felipe noticed Leonor reviewing her speech for the 10th time. He walked over. Without saying a word, he gently straightened one page that had become folded. Then he simply said, "You already know what matters." She looked at him. "I hope I don't disappoint anyone." Felipe answered immediately, "You won't, because your responsibility isn't perfection. It's sincerity." Minutes later, she delivered one of her strongest speeches yet. The audience applauded. The cameras recorded history. But they never captured the conversation that gave her confidence. Queen Letizia often watched these moments quietly. She understood something few people appreciated. The public saw the crown. She saw a father gradually learning to let go. Every successful appearance by Leonor was another reminder that one day she would stand alone. That realization filled Felipe with equal parts pride and sadness. Leadership required preparing someone to no longer need your guidance. One rainy evening, Leonor found Felipe reading old family photographs. She sat beside him. Neither spoke for several minutes. Finally, Felipe pointed toward one picture. "You were 5 years old. You insisted on wearing shoes 3 sizes too big because you wanted to look older." Leonor laughed. "I remember falling." "You did, but you stood up before anyone could help." She looked at the photograph again. "I suppose I still do that." Felipe smiled. "You've always done that." The conversation had nothing to do with constitutions. Nothing to do with ceremonies. Nothing to do with succession. It was simply family. Months later, another major royal appearance approached. International attention was intense. Pressure surrounded every detail. Before leaving the palace, Leonor paused outside the main entrance. Felipe noticed. "Nervous?" She nodded. "A little." He placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Good." She looked surprised. "Why?" "Because people who stop feeling nervous usually stop caring." She quietly smiled. Together, they stepped outside. The cameras flashed. The world once again saw the confident king beside the composed princess. No one noticed the quiet encouragement that had happened only seconds earlier. As Leonor's public role continued to grow, many observers believed they understood the relationship between father and daughter. Some saw discipline, others saw distance, still others imagined hidden disagreements. Perhaps they missed the simplest explanation. Some families express love through words. Others express it through trust. Felipe trusted Leonor with increasing responsibility. Leonor trusted Felipe enough to seek his guidance when the pressure became overwhelming. Their bond didn't always need public displays. It existed in preparation, in conversations, in shared responsibility, in quiet moments that would never appear in official photographs. Years from now, historians might remember speeches, state visits, ceremonies, constitutional milestones, but those closest to the palace might remember something else. A father who never stopped being a teacher. A daughter who never stopped being willing to learn. The hidden truth behind their public relationship was never about conflict. Nor was it about perfect agreement. It was about mutual respect. One generation carefully preparing another. Not with dramatic declarations, but through patience, guidance, listening, and unwavering belief. Because the strongest royal partnerships are rarely built before cameras. They are built in the quiet moments after the cameras leave. Perhaps that is why their public appearances seem so effortless. The confidence the world admired had been created long before anyone started watching. And maybe, that was the hidden truth no one ever truly saw. The end.